Hi folks, a couple of people have asked me, Master Brown, we got the sword tournament coming up and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. All right, and if you have sparred against some of my guardians in class recently with their swords, it may be a bit overwhelming. Keep in mind, some of these are people that have been training in swordsmanship specifically for decades. If you want to be assured of a win, that's pretty much it. But here's the other thing that a lot of people really take into account when it comes to any form of combat, but especially sword combat, is that there's athleticism, there's training, there's experience, and there's luck. And luck is a big part of it. Guys have been training since I was very small, and every now and then somebody will get me, and I'm always pleased to have the opportunity to practice and train and to work at it. And that's really kind of the approach you should have to this. This is an awesome opportunity, and it's so much fun. Win or lose, I have a blast. I was watching in class yesterday, we had the kids doing this. We had one little boy, you could tell, he has not lost very much in his life. He's almost always been won or been allowed to win. And boy, it was really hard. Real tears coming down his cheeks. He was very sad that he couldn't win. I said, well, you got to want it more. And I explained to him, you just got to get him. That's all you got to do. And then he seemed to do better at it. But it's a phenomenal opportunity for him to learn how to be a better sport. So I thought I would give you some pointers, and this will help you out a whole lot. One of the things, training as long as I have and been in as many kendo and kumdo competitions as I've been in, normally I can watch two people pair off against each other and tell you before the fight who's going to win. And it's usually by posture, by positioning, by springiness, I guess. Is that a thing, a springiness? You can kind of tell. And so when I grew up, we used these. This is called a shinai. In Korean, it's called a jukdo. And if you get hit with it, you know it. It definitely hurts. It's split bamboo that's held together with leather straps. The string represents the back of the weapon, and our movements are identical to what we teach the students in here, but we don't use this. When we did kendo, we wore armor, and that armor is about $400 or $500 for a good set. And I don't want my students to have to pay that kind of money, so we use the Action Flex swords invented by my very good friend Dana. Dana, I'm going to flag you on this. He and his son actually hand make these for us on order and ship them to us. We order usually I get 24 at a time, and he ships them straight to us. And he sells them to companies like Century and stuff too. But they're especially made specifically for this activity. So it's pretty cool. The handles are shaped like a real sword handle. The weight is not as realistic as a real sword, but it can't be, because then it would hurt way worse. A lot of schools that do this type of activity still wear headgear and gloves and don't count certain parts of the body as targets. We count everything as a target. If you get hit on the pinky, it counts. And so anyway, I'm going to show you the basic posture you want to have, how you want to hold the weapon so that you can have a better chance of winning. And again, so much happens before the fight even starts. So first off, you don't want to hold your hand at the very top. If it's at the very top, it kind of limits the movement. You want about a finger's distance from the top. This is called the tsuba. Okay, and then at the bottom, you want your hand at the very bottom. In traditional kendo, you curl your pinky and you put it under the bottom. And that's so that when you thrust at your opponent, your hand won't slide, it'll actually push, and that'll allow you to kind of set them off balance a little bit if you need to. But it can also break your pinky. So just a heads up there, a lot of people don't do that anymore because we've seen so many pinkies break. I still do. Now the tightness of the hand is going to count for a whole lot. The only fingers that should be tight on both hands is the ring finger and the thumb. Everything else is held loosely until right at contact. Right at contact, you tighten everything up so you don't get disarmed. But that way everything's loose. When everything's loose, it moves faster. When we tighten, things move slow and you're going to get hit. Having your hands close together means you're swinging it like a baseball bat. Really big swings leave you wide open before and after the swing. So instead, have your hands pretty far apart, and that way you're pulling with one hand as you push with the other, boom, and it's a whole lot faster. Plus, it means that you can make smaller motions. I can keep my sword out here between you and me, makes it a lot harder to get to me, and I can make a really small motion and just cut you across the back of your right hand. All right, and so last night in the adult class, we did what we call the Circle of Doom. We call it the Circle of Death. Anyway, Circle of Doom, we got some students with swords and other students around the outside. The outside circle rotates. It's a lot of fun because you get 30 seconds with somebody, you get to fight them. And most of these are people who've not done this very much at all, and we had so much fun. Everybody's laughing, everybody's smiling, everybody's sweating, and this is what I want from my classes. I want that smiling, sweating, and learning. All right, so now let's look at your posture. Now, in traditional martial arts, we want a really super strong stance, so we make it really, really big. Let me adjust the camera a little bit too. All right, and so we make that stance really, really big so that when we hit stuff dies. But it also limits our motion. By having a really big stance like this, I have to shift my weight one way or the other to move. I don't have time for that in a sword fight. That guy's got a razor sharp katana. It's faster and more deadly than a lightsaber, in my opinion. And so I definitely don't want to mess around with this guy. So I want to move a little bit quicker. I also want to make sure that I have the correct foot forward. I am right-handed, as are most people. Sorry, lefties. Traditional medieval times throughout the world, they saw left-handedness as being bad. And so they would take left-handed children, either train them to be right-handed, or they would put them to death, certain cultures. If you go to a castle in Europe or Japan, or Korea, or just about anywhere in the world, the stairs go up this way. When they do spiral staircases. And that's so that the people defending the castle can fight right-handed coming down the staircase. The people coming up have got to switch and do backhand strikes or left-handed strikes, and puts them at a disadvantage. This is because at that time period they knew most people were right-handed, we're right-handed, we're going to defend with the right hand. And so if you are left-handed, this is going to make it a little bit more difficult for you. Just switch what I'm about to say. For those of us that are right-handed, you're going to lead with your right foot in front, pointing in the inside line of the foot, pointing straight at your target. You're going to take your back foot and you're going to turn it about 10, 15 degrees off of that line. You're going to put all your weight on the balls of your feet. Your heels are barely touching, if at all. Okay, and you're going to keep your knees really super bent so that your back is perfectly straight up and down. You're going to keep the sword in front of your belly button so that it is about a fist distance in front of your belly button. It points slightly that way so that it's going towards your opponent's left eye, is the way we look at it. So it's going slightly that way. This gives me a really, really good positioning, really, really good balance. It allows me to move really fast. Because my feet are close together, boom, I can move over. Boom, I can move over. And I can move really, really quick and get out of my opponent's way. Most attacks are going to be small. Most defenses are going to require you to move a matter of millimeters. I can't tell you the number of times I've won a fight because my opponent barely missed me. And we have stories about samurai who survived and had garments cut off of them, but yet they still survived and were untouched because we're fighting that close to their opponent's tip of their sword. All right, guys, so looking at that position one more time, you can see you got the right foot in front, knees are bent, bouncing up and down, back perfectly straight, sword in front of the belly button. From here, I'm not going to bring the sword up very high. Boom. Almost all my motions are going to be right here. Now, you're going to strike towards what's closest part of your opponent. And that's going to be their hands. And keep in mind, in a real fight, you cut someone's finger off or you hit them in the hand, they're not fighting anymore probably very, very well if they do continue. And so it is going to be your primary target. And it's definitely ours. And so that's going to be what's closest to you, so definitely go for that. Now here's the thing, you may be up against someone who is taller than you or shorter than you, and you may go, ooh, I'm taller, I got an advantage. Actually, not so. The swords are all the same length. Distance from tip to hand are the same. And if your target is their hand, then we're all equal. It doesn't matter whether you're taller or not. If that's your target. If you decide you're going for the body, then yeah, you have an advantage if you're taller, and they have a disadvantage if they're shorter. And so just keep that in mind. It's going to be a blast, guys. I can't wait. Last year was edge of your seat watching some of these people fight. It was so much fun. And I gotta say, some of the smaller ones are the ones that we were like really edge of the seat for. Be a good sport. When you lose, bow, say thank you, sir, for the opportunity to train, and recognize it as an opportunity to learn. You're not going to win. No matter how good you are, you're not going to win everything. So just get out there and have a good time and enjoy the experience. I'm looking forward to it, guys. I am really looking forward to it. And I hope that you guys are too. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Thanks for listening.